it's fun. It feels good to my brain.
If you're injured and you're unable to do the thing, what are your tactics?
Doesn't want to have to,
I want all that smoke.
I only have one move in jiu-jitsu, and that's the ankle lock.
Don't do that, you're going to tear your knee in half.
Right.
Hey everyone, on today's episode, we're going to be talking about training around and through injuries with Matt Tillman, a brown belt under Caio Terra, owner of the Holy Scythe, and pilot of his very own Mech Warrior meat suit. If anybody knows how to train around injuries, it's Mr. Tillman. If you want to learn actionable strategies for training around injuries so you can continue to make progress on the mats, keep listening because this episode is for you. Before we get started, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Victory Submission Strength, the strength and conditioning gym for grapplers in San Jose, California. If you want to get faster, stronger, and more mobile so that you can bulletproof your body, win more matches, or just spend more time on the mats, go to victorysubmissionstrength.com and schedule a free strategy session with a coach to see how. Do you want to do the music again?
Yeah.
Welcome back to another episode of Thanks for the Roll, where we help jiu-jitsu athletes unleash their full potential on the mats. We're your hosts, Matt and Josh. Join us each week for actionable advice, expert insights, and the inside scoop on exactly what it takes to level up your game. Matthew Tillman, how are you, buddy?
Well enough.
It was your birthday yesterday.
It was my birthday yesterday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
You made it around the sun one more time.
It just keeps happening.
Against your will.
I mean, I didn't have much of a choice at this point. But
well, really quickly before we get into things, would you mind just telling us who you are and why you're here?
My name's Matt Tillman. I'm a brown belt under Caio Terra. And apparently I'm qualified on the topic of how to continue training despite being injured all the fucking time. So...
I actually didn't know this about you. I was like, what? I actually asked Matt last night. I was like, why is Tillman so qualified to talk about training around injuries? He's like, he's injured all the time. I'm like,
right. Yeah.
Specifically, no, you have no meniscus in one of your knees, both your knees.
Yeah, one of them.
One of your knees,
at least documented.
She gone.
She gone. Yeah, and that's just one of innumerable consistent injuries over the course of training for like. I don't know, fucking 2012.
Okay.
You know, so how long have I been training? 10 years? 11 years? I don't fucking know. It's a long time.
Well, can you tell us about, let's start from the beginning. How did you get into jiu-jitsu? I know you've got a lot of miles on your frame.
Yeah.
I'm sure you had injuries prior to jiu-jitsu. Is there anything
that
is notable that you feel like you want to share before you get to the actual jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, we'll backdrop the whole thing. So, like, as a little kid, I was just on a bike all the time. Jumping curbs and doing hood rat shit with my friends. When I was a teenager, I started skating a little bit more. Snapped my arm, jumping a stair set on a skateboard. So I was like, better going back to bikes. And I rode BMX. I mean, I didn't get my license till I was, close to 20 years old because I just rode my bike everywhere. I would literally ride my bike, single speed BMX bike all over this fucking valley. And would go do dirt jumps. I would get up in the morning. I'd ride from right about here, as my grandma lives nearby, and I'd ride all the way to Cupertino, chain smoking Marlboro Reds the whole fucking way, and ride the dirt jumps all day long doing the same shit, and then ride home. And so, I like chewed up my knees and my hips and my wrists and shit, just constantly crashing, I guess martial arts wise, I had done karate as a kid for a long time. And then I had fucked around with some Muay Thai later on, and I'd boxed for a couple years with a buddy of mine. And so, BMX-related injuries, striking arts-related injuries. How old was I when I got into jiu-jitsu? I guess I must have been like 32 or something like that.
Okay.
Maybe it was a little bit earlier than that. When I got that no sense of time autism.
time's fake anyway, right?
Yeah, it's a construct. It's totally relative. But so me and my buddy Jimmy, we had been boxing for a little while, and Jimmy's like 235, and we had got to the point where we were like having sparring sessions, and we were just fucking dinging each other you know. Am I supposed to cuss?
You can cuss.
Okay, good, great.
Say whatever the
Fuck. Perfect. I'm just trying to get them all
One
out.
more time.
Fuck. I want to have a little squeak on it. But so, you know, we both kind of had this moment where we're like, we're just giving each other concussions like all the time. You know what I mean? And like that's kind of like my expertise in working around injury directly is related to being way too stubborn for any of these activities.
I think that's common.
It's super impetuous.
common.
I mean, you can tell by looking at my face, like the quality of the decision making is like not always top shelf, right? But so what do you do? I think one of us found Mastering the Half Guard, like soft cover Eddie Bravo book, and we just started fucking with that shit in the garage. And then right around the same time, I was getting tattooed at Seven Sun Tattoo by a guy named Jeff Croce. He was a blue belt under Half at the time, and the two dudes who owned that shop, Luke Stewart and Joey Armstrong, are both black belts under Half. So I was going to getting tattooed, and they're like, "Hey, pussy, if you're going to get tattooed here, like, you need to come train." They were playing, but they meant it. And so I did. I would go in the morning and do 2 hours at Half's and just get the fucking shit kicked out of me, and then go get tattooed for like 6 hours.
I've heard stories about that room.
Bro, it's tough, brutal. Dude. They're tough. Yeah. It's a hard training room. Like, they're doing an hour of hard warm-ups and then just fucking rounds for an hour. Yeah. And, you know, being a dude who had zero grappling understanding going into that room and just being like, why? I can't do a thing to anybody in here. And so naturally it was like immediately hooked.
Cool. Love that. Okay, so that brings us to the beginning of your jiu-jitsu journey. Let's go a little bit further. Talk to me about injuries that you've accrued over now an 11 year.
Yeah. I mean, it started happening pretty much instantaneously, right? Like, so I had when I was a kid, when I was 15, like, I can remember the specific instance of like throwing this round kick and like having my knee buckle sideways and like always having this weird little pinch, you know, anytime I do like an internal rotation. And it was like that forever. And then it started getting worse as I was riding BMX, you know, because you're just fucking crunching on it all the time. But it was still just like a little flapper. Pretty much as soon as I started training jiu-jitsu and learned what a knee slice was, it started getting worse. Right? That little bucket handle that was closed and it was just kind of flipping in and out came loose, and I could feel it sucking into the joint. And, you know, it would get stuck and I'd be like, oh, that's fucking weird. And then you pop it out and you're like, oh, I popped it. It's cool. You know, just Brazilian your way through the fucking thing. It's fine now. And no offense to my Brazilian friends. That was just a joke. But, you know, it started sticking and catching all the time. And I would just like unpop it and it'd be fine. You go back to your business. And then like the next time it catches, it's like deeper. It's worse. It's like way in there now, you know? And I remember it was an afternoon class. This is still when the gym was all blue mats. Yep. You know?
It was right before I started, actually. I've seen all the videos. I see white belt Matt Tillman in some of those old instructional videos, and the blue mats and everything. I didn't get to see those, but okay.
Yeah. I think I was actually training there. Like Caio had just started teaching the program at I think it was ASD at the time, or oh god, I forget what it was called. It was like Academy of Martial Arts or something like that. He had taken over the jiu-jitsu program at this like MMA school. Right? Mm-hmm. I think he had left Caesars or something. And so that was just starting there. Like I said, I was training up at Half's. Half's daughter Haza is married to Caio's brother Kim. Mm-hmm. And so when I was like, I can't drive to San Francisco to train. I need to train a lot more now. They were like, go to Caio's right up the street.
Cool.
So it was cool. The timing was great. But so I was going to afternoon class, and there was this dude who, in the maybe 3 months that I had been training, he was one of those guys who was just like bouncing around, doing free trials everywhere. Yep. And he would come in, and he was a big dude, and, you know, no stripe white belt, and he would just come in and fucking can opener everybody. He was like heel hooking people in the gi, like crazy. He was just going in and smashing people. It was terrible.
I love it.
Right. I'm so into that. But I remember this one particular day, like he had showed back up and a couple of us are like, oh, it's that fucking guy that's doing that weird thing. And I remember like as I got to live training, I'm listening to people around the room just going, and I'm looking and this fucking dude is literally just like can opening people from inside close guard repeatedly. So I get around with him. He does the same thing to me, pops my neck. Like my neck's fucked from that also, right? That's a lesser incident or a separate story. So I'm like, fuck this guy. And I sweep him and I go come up to knee slice. And as I'm coming up, my knee catches. And I'm like, fuck that. I don't have time to wait to unclick this thing. Like I'm punishing this dude. I'm busy. And I execute the knee slice with my meniscus caught in my knee, and it just unzipped the whole thing off the bone. I had a 90% medial meniscus like delamination. It just rolled it off the bone, and it ripped all the way around the edge. There was just a little bumper around the outside edge, and everything else just peeled up and rolled up inside the joint. Catastrophic meniscus tear. Like Marco had to fucking drive me to my house, and, pick me up off the mat and stuff. And, so it was like emergency surgery. It was fully mechanically impinged, like stop everything, go get a surgery right now.
So you went straight to the hospital, straight to the surgeon type situation.
You couldn't unbend your knee.
No, it was fully locked. It was not going anywhere. Yeah, it was brutal.
That's gnarly.
Yeah.
What belt were you when this happened?
White belt.
White belt. Okay, so it was two white belts battling, and so one guy is super aggressive. You're like, "Fuck this guy!" I'm gonna
exactly.
Show him what's up.
Yeah. He was probably 235 pounds, and I think I was like 142 at the time. And I'm just like, "Fuck this dude."
I think there's a couple of things to unpack there. The first is, I think there's got to be maybe more education push toward new practitioners.
Yes.
How to approach things like that.
Totally.
So to avoid that situation.
100%.
That's the first thing.
And I mean, watching that culture change specifically in our gym from that time when it's brand new and everybody's, still trying to figure out what they're doing, what's going on, to the way that we deal with and address white belts and culture of new individuals in the sport or in the activity now is like,
it's night and day.
It's night and fucking day.
Yeah.
It's so much better now.
I know y'all are connecting over this. The problem is that I've only been going to the gym with y'all for a few years. Can you enlighten me? So explain what happened culturally. Like so I guess what makes that cultural shift happen from this like two guys just battling it and getting hurt to like what we would have now?
It's just oversight, it's just the responsibility on the higher belts in the room to observe and care for the lower belts in the room. You don't know what you don't know. Right. And you can't help yourself stay out of trouble unless you can identify where trouble is, and you can't because you don't know. You need people to help you. And
you're like specifically in reference to the white belts, like
specifically referencing white belts. Yeah. You just don't know. Right. You're untarnished. Yeah. So yeah. And like having that happen to me, and then like seeing those instances kind of recur over the course of, development and training is like, now more than ever, like I feel a personal responsibility to like make sure that my little kiddos are doing okay. It's like we want to learn all these things. We want to be exposed to all these problems for sure, but you don't want to be exposed to problems with catastrophic consequences. Obviously, we want the consequences.
Right.
We need the consequences.
Or else you don't have a game. You don't have jitsu if you don't have the consequences.
Right. There's no fucking point.
Yeah.
But, you don't want to have somebody's experience catastrophically ended for no fucking reason. That sucks. So
in this case, it seems like that was a factor of time and like a cultural shift, and everybody kind of realized there needed to be oversight. Is there a way to implement that as a new gym? instead of this prolonged period of this just kind of, it sounded like it happened organically, but is there ways to implement that?
It did. And, I'm just an attendee to the gym. I'm not I'm not involved in running anything.
But you've been there for a while. You've been doing
there for a long time, right? And we're everybody in the gym is involved in the culture, right? Like we are culture, right? Everything that you do has an effect on the people around you and how they're doing it. And I know that Caio and the other instructors there are like, anytime a problem pops up where it's like, damn, this isn't working good, they're very apt to like figure it out, try to figure out how can we do this better? What's a better way to go about this? And part of that is that like, adopt a white belt thing. When it's time to drill, grab a white belt. Don't just grab the other brown belt. Don't just grab that purple belt guy because you want like the hard drills or they got the body type you want or whatever. And you're just only thinking about how it's going to benefit yourself in the training. Like right now, I can grab that white belt who doesn't know anything and I can give them a valuable experience that is going to help me because I have to try to qualify this information in a way that they can absorb, right? But you can also provide them a safe environment in order to do that, and help them learn how to take responsibility for those consequences themselves slowly.
But what about the guy who does just want like the training, for example? Like it doesn't want to have to.
I want all that smoke.
Well, but for real though, right? Like, what if you don't want to have to like babysit white belts every time you're trying to train?
Don't go to fundamentals. Go to comp class. Right?
Or advanced. Or
advanced. Yeah, advanced. I mean, so I kind of like alternate, right? Because for me, I know that my brain works best when I can like take that information and like regurgitate it or cycle it and repeat it with, somebody who's also trying to learn it, because every question that they have is helping me stratify my own answers. And then being able to then go to another class where my expected achievements are like different. My goals are different at those other classes. My goals and fundamentals are one kind of thing. And it's all about the information and the retention and like the culture. Like I really do like helping lower belts learn stuff. It's fun. It feels good to my brain. And so by being able to work off that like oxytocin and then go to advanced class after that and be like, okay, well, I'm just going to take all that stuff that I just did with one set of outcomes in mind. Now I'm going to do it like I fucking mean it. And this person who's in front of me now is ready for me to do that.
So there's benefits to you still from adopting a white belt and teaching them the stuff. And that's just a different training partners, different goals.
Totally.
And then this to you, what is that instills a culture of like you can guide them through things that would like prevent injury? Or?
Yeah, well, if that person maybe had gotten paired with another white belt and then they're just kind of banging into each other in the dark, none of them really learns anything. Like the one person is like, God, this fucking dude's going all hard on me. Like, I don't know what's happening.
Is
like,
this right?
Right. Yeah. I don't know what I'm doing, and then it's like, it kind of just stacks on negativity onto that experience, right? If the experience becomes stressful, they're not even learning. They're not learning. Their brain is in a fight or flight response. Like they're washed in cortisol. They can't even build the neurological patterns that they need to be able to execute this behavior in the future, right? So that sucks. That sucks for them. That's a devalued experience now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know.
I think to your point, teaching in a lot of cases is the last form of like mastery, right? It's like, can you teach it? Can you explain why?
Right.
Right. So I love that. And I feel the same way. I do take, there is pleasure in giving that information and showing somebody the way and maybe getting them there a little bit quicker than you got there.
Totally. And with, it's like bumper bowling, right? Yeah. I'm just going to make sure you don't get a gutter ball. You're not going to probably get a fucking strike.
Right.
But exactly. We're making sure we're not doing gutter balls, right?
Exactly. I can think like anecdotally to your point, because I've been dealing with a knee thing for the last couple months. Watch it, I would go to class, help white belts out. even if it's just there to like coach them. If I couldn't drill it for whatever reason,
Right.
I'm there to help coach.
Yeah.
And I can think of, I can't remember who it was, but while they were rolling in closed guard, the white belt on top, he had splayed his feet out this way.
Oh yeah.
And the other guy was trying to come up on a on a hip bump, and I was like, no, like, stop, turn your feet over, like don't do that, you're gonna tear your knee in half.
Right.
So I too feel that like responsibility, especially at brown and above. I don't think I felt it quite as much at purple. I still felt like I was a little fighting for myself.
Totally. Yeah.
But once I got to brown, I started to feel that responsibility to like
totally
take care of some of the younger, less experienced practitioners and make sure that they don't get hurt.
Right.
Because that shit sucks.
Well, it's like I was having a conversation with Kyle the other day about we were talking about tattooing. He was just asking me about how the shop's doing and whatever. And we were kind of drawing a parallel between tattooing and jiu-jitsu in that, like, as you age and you're exposed more and more, your experience level just continues to increase, right? And your understanding of the art form continues to increase forever until you die, right? As long as you keep learning. But inversely, at some point, your physical ability and your technical mastery starts going downhill, right? And there's no stopping that, right? You can maintain for as long as you can. You can get that decline to be as easy as possible, but it's happening.
Yeah.
Right. And there's definitely a threshold in a person's life, and especially through the training career, where you go like, okay, well, now my expected outcomes are definitely different,
Right.
So like what am I actually after here?
And this actually brings me into the second thing that I wanted to unpack after your whole story, which was the cost of getting good at anything is getting worse at human.
Oh yeah.
Whether it's BMX, jiu-jitsu, or something as static as just computer programming.
Sure.
Right? To be the best that you're ever going to be, maybe not even the best in the world, but to
Right.
be the best that you're going to be, the cost is getting worse at what your body was actually intended to do.
Totally.
Right.
Yeah. Hyper specialization definitely has its downsides.
Can you explain that?
Yeah.
You get worse at human. What does that mean?
Do you want to go or
After you.
I insist?
Okay. So like when you're spending so much time developing very specific skill sets, right? And very specific like intentions and expectations for outcome, like you're giving away time that you would be doing other just like regular behavior, I guess. You know what I mean? Like
I guess from like a physiological standpoint, your joints and muscles and tendons and all the tissues are built to do certain things.
Yeah.
Right. So just for instance, like internal and external rotation of the shoulder. Right. I played hockey for 20 years and I only ever shot right-handed.
yeah.
So that's probably hundreds of thousands of shots in my whole life where I'm externally rotating my right shoulder and internally rotating my left.
Totally.
And so now, like, there are physiological differences in my right shoulder versus my left that will never go back the way they were.
They're like that now.
Right. At the time, you're right. They're like that
They're
now.
like that now.
What it is it's called the SAID principle, which is specific adaptations of imposed demands, which basically just says whatever you put up against the body will change to do that thing.
Yeah, to maximize that.
When I was playing hockey, that was an advantage because if I had more external rotation in my shoulder, I could get more weight on the stick, faster shot. As a jiu-jitsu practitioner, it's very much a disadvantage when somebody's going for a kimura. I have to tap way quicker because I don't have
Doesn't go that way.
the internal rotation anymore. And so that's really what we mean when we say the cost of getting good at anything is getting worse at human, because there's inherently adaptation that's going to happen that's going to cost you something later.
Right. Yeah, and I think kind of weighing and measuring and balancing like how gathering awareness about that constant state of adaptation, knowing that it's happening, and then making choices and trying to be intentional about like, okay, well, what can I lean into, and like, what do I need to compensate for actively,
Right.
And I mean, same thing in tattooing, right? Like,
Yeah. Hunched over.
sit like this all day. Like, that's neutral.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
So
Josh, you've experienced this because if you remember after your massive ankle lock run, we came into the gym and you're like, my hips hurt. And I was like, well, let's look at your hips. And one hip internally rotate, no problem. And the other one, not at all. And the other one externally rotate, no problem. And the other one, not at all. So that's that. That's
Got it. Yeah, that was a real thing. That was weird because
we do a lot of work to undo that.
Yeah, because I only have one move in jiu-jitsu, and that's the ankle lock. Straight foot lock of people's right foot, so my left side. The only thing I know how to do. And for a long time when it didn't work, I just would not do anything else and then lose the match.
Just hang out there.
Yeah.
Curled
Just
sideways.
Staying in that position indefinitely. But the one thing that actually did happen was after I was doing that in competition for a while and training that, I came back to Matt. And literally my hips had changed the way that they just like sit at rest, which was the craziest thing.
Totally.
It was like in that single leg X configuration.
Bro, I mean, why does like 70 to 80% of the people at our gym have bad right hips? Well, if half guard is the center of your fucking universe, top or bottom, and you mostly play it one way, like that's how it works.
You're like strengthening like one hip flexor, one sort of like whatever.
You got one flexor, one psoas, one QL. Right. That's just fucking
just strong as fuck.
Yeah. Honking, baby.
So I guess what I want to move into now is we kind of talked about like your injury history is, you're a student of the game. You study a lot. I know you serve as the uke a lot in the evening. Being injured at times, and I know this, anecdotally, I'd love to hear your take on it. It can be hard to maintain that level of study.
Totally.
Right? So I'm curious to know if you're injured and you're unable to do the thing, what are your tactics for continuing to improve your understanding of whatever position it is or the game as a whole?
Right. Well, like I said, a deeply impetuous nature, not knowing when to take no for an answer, lacking self-care strategies. That's at the heart of it for me mostly. But no, it's like when you love something, you get away with what you can, right? Mm-hmm. There's boundaries on everything, and boundaries change all the time, right? And adapting to what the boundaries changing, it's just like, oh, I've been doing IBJJF rule set, but now I got to go and do this rule set. You're just adopting a new rule set for yourself, I think this was also a white belt. We were drilling, what is it, that butterfly like hook sweep thing, the overhook butterfly situation.
It's a sumigashi.
Oh yeah. Thanks, Don Jonaher. But we're drilling that. I was getting swept, and I just plopped my shoulder straight into the mat and suffered a grade 3 separation. Yeah, of my AC joint, and that was catastrophic. It took fucking forever to heal, but I just went back to the next class and I put my arm in my belt, and I'm like, this is not a component of my jiu-jitsu right now. I have these, and I'm going to use those. And anytime I'm in a position where anything feels even remotely risky or is creating pressure that is like not good for the situation and is going to help me heal, I'm going to avoid that. If that meant not rolling, then I didn't roll. If I couldn't drill but I could watch, then I'd do that. If all I could do was point and go, nuh-uh, then I just did that, because see it, say it, do it. If you can get all three, fucking great. But if you can only do one, do one. Just do what you can do.
Oh, question there. Did you find yourself learning new things from just having one arm?
Yeah. There was a period there where like the only game that I could play was an explicitly defensive game. Like, I'm just going to lay here and try to not let you kill me. And for a long time that really worked, and I ended up having a deeply defensively reliable game for a long time. It's kind of worn off at this point, but for a long time it made me very, very hard to tap because I wasn't like looking for ways out. I was just waiting for people to get frustrated and then exploiting the mistakes that they were making out of frustration, right? And so it really improved a lot of my jiu-jitsu, like tactically and strategically. I wasn't couldn't wrestle up on a underhook or anything, but
Yeah, it seems like a lot of people when they get injured, it feels like the end of the world, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I got to stop training now." Yeah. But it seems like you approached that differently.
Well, again, like I'm not good at taking no for an answer. I'm a, like aggressively irresponsible person most of the time. But
I would disagree because it sounds like you did it responsibly. I know maybe there are other there are other instances
on the inside. I know it looks like this from the outside, but on the inside, that was me just like sitting at home doing PT like as aggressively as I would be training when I was doing that, and then going and trying to fucking train my brain as much as I could because I couldn't train my body, and just like trying to wring as much satisfaction out of that thing like a weird drug addict. But
no, I totally understand that. I suffered from hip injuries over the last couple of years, and from white to the beginning to middle of purple, almost exclusively played guard.
Right.
And once I started to have hip problems, which I think were actually just problems that I developed in hockey, coming to a head in jiu-jitsu. I don't think I did anything in jiu-jitsu that would, in particular, that would have injured my hips. But when
just prior maladaptations.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah. And they just didn't transfer well. And so I had to stop playing guard. And so my passing game got really, really good once I started having hip problems because I wasn't able to rely on my legs to do the majority of the heavy lifting.
Yep.
I'm actually reading a book right now. It's called The Gift of Injury by Stu McGill and Brian Carroll. Stu McGill is like the world's foremost authority on the spine. And Brian Carroll is like world record holding power lifter, deadlifts over 1,000 pounds. It's absolutely crazy. But Brian Carroll, his whole life was lifting shittily, and his sacrum cracked in half.
Holy fuck.
It's gnarly. They show the MRI and everything. It's really, really gross.
What is the sacrum?
It's like the very, very bottom of the spinal column.
Yeah, it's like the little plate in the back of your pelvis.
Yeah. So he severed it.
Fuck.
And like just right down the middle, opened it up. And somehow that made its way past several orthopedic surgeons who just like didn't notice it. And there was like, spinal fusion's the only thing. You'll never lift again. Don't do this. Don't do that. Blah, 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 blah. He's like, I have to find another way because if I'm not lifting, I don't want to live. And he like had a brief moment there where he was like, I don't want to live. And it got really, really dark.
Yeah.
And, then he finds Stu McGill, and Stu helps him out. He's like, listen, it's not that you don't lift anymore. It's that you lift differently.
Right.
Which is exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
The injury in this way after going through all of it is a gift in that it teaches you the right way or a different way, a more efficient way to do the thing. And I think that's a really mature way of looking at injury.
For sure. Yeah, injury is really a great teacher at times,
It just sucks going through it.
Nobody wants to do that. It's not like you wouldn't volunteer to have your shit fucked and have to like compensate your whole life to deal with it. But when those moments arise and you don't have a choice, like, what are you going to do? Are you going to sit around and just complain about it? You're just going to be like, oh, well, that's it. I can't do that anymore. Like, fuck that. That's, if you want to continue doing the thing, then you figure it out, figure out where you can do it and, ways that are responsible and healthy and are going to, get you back to where you want to be without exacerbating the situation, which is a whole other area of personal expertise that I can elaborate on.
Actually, there was one thing that you mentioned that I wanted to talk about. Like, if you couldn't do the thing on the mats, you're at home, you're visualizing, you're studying, all that stuff. And that reminds me of a study they did. There was like two groups, teach them how to shoot a free throw, right? one group practiced for 20 minutes a day. Don't quote me on the numbers here, but they practiced for 20 minutes a day shooting free throws, and the other group just visualized, after one initial teaching session, just visualized shooting free throws the same amount of time. They come back, they retest them, and they almost exactly the same. Like, they made improvements just through visualizing or, thinking through the process.
Yeah.
And I think there's something to be said about, if you are injured, using that time to continue to develop those neural pathways.
For sure.
You can come back and actually be just as good or very close to where you would be had you been practicing the whole time.
Totally. And I have had this exact experience personally where, like, I sustain an injury. I can only watch, maybe lightly drill a thing, if at all. During the knee situation, like, I couldn't do anything. I was not training for like 2 years. All I could do was watch. I would go to the gym and I would just watch training. Mm-hmm. I would be at my house. I would just be watching instructionals. I would just be thinking about sequences while I was laying in bed, and just like going over them in my head. So I understood enough to know that, like, just doing a thing, like the physical act of doing the thing, that's part of your neural cognition. But the rest of that circuit is all these other facets, right? Like visual, like recognition, like knowing what that position is, or like what that overhook versus that underhook means, or all those kinds of things. And like if you can stratify that part of your neurology in lieu of being able to physically do it, by the time you can go back and physically do it, like, your brain already has this nice little nest of information. So you just drop that physical part in there, and it boom, and you have a really, really dense sense of how these things work, right? And I had all this time off, and I finally got back to the time that I could train, and like positions that I didn't have prior to injury, now I had as mainstays because it had been what I was studying, and I wasn't drilling it. I was just studying it. Mm-hmm. But I knew that entire game inside and out now, so it was like easy to apply.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
That reminds me of, I think that like visualization in sports psychology in general is a big thing, right? Again, I remember one of the biggest first times that this clicked sort of in a new way was when I was watching that movie Free Solo. Have you seen that with Alex Honnold?
I can't, dude.
No.
Can't do it.
I haven't seen it, but I do enjoy watching Alex Honnold shit. He's a bad motherfucker.
He's got wild look in his eye, dude.
He's like how obsessed
wild,
we are.
Autistic. Then yes.
That's exactly what I was about to say. I was like, he's got the autism that we have for jiu-jitsu, but for rock climbing.
Only for climbing up high stuff without any safety net. Like, Jesus fucking Christ.
And imagine this guy in the movie, or not the movie, the documentary about him free soloing El Capitan or whatever that was. He says before he went out there, like, all he does all day is just visualize, because he knows the routes with ropes, right? And he'll just visualize that. He knows
every grip, every step. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
that's the intimately thing. For sure.
Yeah.
I would be remiss if I didn't mention strength training as a precaution for injuries.
Yeah, I don't believe in it.
Don't listen to him. That's bullshit. So I'm curious to know, because you came to us now, I think it's been like 14 months, actually, because for those of you who don't know, Matt and Tony Young painted the massive mural in our gym. And
picture on screen.
And upon completion, started training with us. I'm curious to know, how you felt before, how you felt while, you're starting to get stronger, you're starting to feel different, and then how you feel now as a result.
Sure. Well, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. I'm going to make a comparison. Okay. I started strength training before I started jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
Right. I was having a lot of issues with my back and my shoulder and my neck from tattooing. Mm-hmm. Right. I was having like constant numbness, big nerve compression shit. Like, tattooing is terrible for your fucking body posturally.
And getting good at tattooing.
Exactly.
Getting worse at human. Right?
Exactly. Just fully folding up, shrimp back. And, at the time I was still like smoking cigarettes every day and just like subsisting off of rock stars and Monster energy drinks and shit
Hell
like
yeah.
that. Full pile, dude.
Don't encourage Josh. Don't
This
do
is
it.
not
Do not
advice.
encourage Josh.
What is your opinion on the white sugar-free Monster Energy drink?
Delicious. But so the dude that I was training with at the time, like he was like a CrossFit dude. So I was going to this guy like 6 days a week, 90-minute sessions, and just getting brutalized. I was constantly injured. Constantly injured. I like ended up being more fucked off than I was originally. The single-sided nerve pain went away, but now it's just in both arms, right?
Right.
I was injuring myself at training, which was fucking crazy. Like that's the opposite of what you're trying to do, right?
That's not why we're here.
Got to jujitsu, over the course of that, like had periods where I was strength training more, strength training less. Always though, kind of with that same over expenditure, like was doing too much, and was like fucking myself up. And so I was creating more opportunities to get injured versus less.
Right.
And it was showing. Like I was getting injured all the time. My cardio was great, so I was just fucking sending it at the wall, but I would just hurt myself doing next to nothing because I was already destroyed. Since training at submission or victory submission strength, TM. I'm just. It's a lot easier for me to have a sense of stability now, right? Like I have a bunch of shit that every corner is fucked off somehow, right? But I can still perform, right? Like I still have a athletic like baseline that's reliable. I don't feel like when I go into a position like something's gonna twist loose anymore. Now I feel like a brick shit house. And
only training 2 days a week.
And only training 2 days a week.
Which I think is the
key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the most recovery. I think it's the most attractive.
Especially, I'm over 40 years old. Like, sure, when I was in my 20s or maybe even my early 30s, I could sustain that volume of training. I was capable of it. Wasn't good for me, but I could do it. Now I couldn't even do that.
Right.
My body's just like, no, dude, like, what are you doing? But now when I go work out and my body's like, yes, we're ready to do things now. Not, no, we're fucked. Please don't do any more things.
Was that a factor of CrossFit or was that a factor of you not doing because like CrossFit has a lot of like Olympic lifts in it, right? And like are those necessarily bad for you? Or?
No, not at all. It was just a matter of volume and intensity. It was just too much. Just splatting yourself against the wall for no reason and not actually getting gains out of it. You're
going past the point of optimal.
Way past the point of optimal.
Got it.
Yeah. And then you're just hitting that degradation slide and it's just a feedback loop and everything starts falling apart.
But it feels good though, right?
It feels good, bro.
Knock out those
red,
burpees,
dude. Just fucking go.
Dude, it fucking does feel good.
Don't
though.
get me started on burpees.
Dude, I fucking love burpees. I used to during the actually we can't say this on YouTube because then they'll put a banner that
right
during a year
during
when there
the period
was during
that shall not be named.
Yeah, when there was a widespread thing, I would just go out onto my front porch, because we couldn't go to a gym, and I would just knock out 100 burpees and feel fantastic.
I mean, given those circumstances, like
Josh
sure.
is trying to rile me up right
now. I
now.
mean, that's more of that's an emotional management tool, not necessarily a killer workout.
Bro, it was the endorphins. I swear to God, I feel the same way that I do when I go roll hard in jiu-jitsu.
He's riling me up before hot takes. Hot takes is the next section.
Yeah.
He's
just
trying to
burpees till you fucking rip your shirt off and scream at the moon or whatever.
I can say, as a certified strength and conditioning specialist, a functional range conditioning mobility specialist, and all the other alphabet soup things, minimum effective dose is really that's what we're after.
Totally.
Right? It's like, how much can we get done in as little time as humanly possible?
You got a headache, take some aspirin. Well, I really got a headache. I'll just eat the whole bottle.
You're going to die.
You're going to die. That's dumb. It's fucking stupid. More is not better.
Right. Better is better.
The right amount is good.
Exactly. So that actually you want to cut to hot takes?
Hot takes, hot takes. Dude, I
wrote a jingle
I recorded
for
a
it. Nice.
jingle for hot
Yeah.
takes.
Let's hear it. Spit it.
It'll be on
We'll
the
put it out-
thing, but
yeah.
it literally goes
Okay.
like that. Hot takes, hot takes, hot takes, hot takes, hot takes. And then there's a flamethrower. Whoosh. And then it crackles.
He like lights the logo on fire.
Yeah.
Sick.
Watch it. Watch right now.
Yeah.
Bing.
Okay, so the way it works is I'm just going to give you a topic, free association. You got 20 seconds.
Oh,
Give us
shit.
everything you got. We'll give you 3, and then there may be some bonus ones in there in case.
Ready.
Ready?
Should I put a timer on?
No.
Go for it.
literally
Crash,
have-
go for
It's
it.
already
Yeah,
giving me
20
anxiety.
seconds,
You got
yeah.
20 seconds. Ready?
Alright, ready.
And go.
You say the question, then I'll start the timer.
BJJ warm-ups.
Hate them. No, just kidding. I show up to the gym an hour early to warm up for the warm up. I show up and I study the position that we're going to be going over, and I do all my mobility shit before the warm up, and then I do the whole fucking warm up because that's the only cardio that I get.
20 seconds.
There you go. Next one. Everyday Pohada.
Go.
I don't understand what Pohada means exactly.
Just go hard as fuck.
Yeah. And I mean, that's like the operative thing is like Pohada is like, fuck. Like, I don't know. I don't Pohada every day. Not everybody I know Pohadas every day. I mean, that may be a cultural thing.
Okay.
20 seconds.
Leg locks for lower belts.
Everything for everybody, well understood. That's it. Like, everything can be safe if you teach it right.
Sage advice. Yeah. Cool.
Hot takes.
Hot takes. Harmonize.
Meow, 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 meow. Okay, next one. New Wave versus B Team. Is it... talk to me about the conspiracy. Are they just friends?
man.
Or are they really hate each other?
Bro, you want to talk
seconds.
about conspiracies, you got the right guy. I think that at least in part, this is all, marketing, and it's great. I think it's good for the sport. Rivalry is fantastic. Like having a big super monopoly on like the best team in the world with all the best guys in it, like that's not good for the sport. Who are you going to fight? Right?
20.
It's Ric Flair and Randy Savage, dude.
Last one. Who wins? Elon, Zuck.
Nobody wins.
Do they tear their meniscus?
Zuck's got a torn ACL right now, actually. So.
Yeah, he's kind of flim-flam, dude. I mean, Elon's a bit of a tank. So I don't know. I think that Zuck probably is better at jiu-jitsu than Elon is, but I think Elon is like, be like wrestling a fucking walrus.
20
That's
seconds.
perfect. Perfect.
Man, my timing is good.
You're an animal.
Bro, have you seen Elon shirtless? I saw him on a boat. Have you seen that? He looks like Casper.
He's
He looks,
transparent.
yeah, he looks like
transparent.
the opposite of Brian Johnson.
He's too autistic to give a fuck about a Bezos fake tan, dude. He doesn't give a shit.
He's a tank in his own way.
Yeah.
I love you, Elon.
If you're watching this, please, I didn't mean it.
Are we
Josh,
doing our
did you have
hot
anything?
takes? Or is it... Or,
No, I think that was...
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to give my hot take on warm-ups.
Give me your hot take on warm
They fucking suck.
Josh doesn't have his purple belt yet, but he has fully embraced the purple belt, skipping warm-ups.
Sure.
Yeah.
I see you. See walking in.
Fully
Everybody's just lined up. I'm just going to take my gi top out and fold this on the banister here. Turn around. Oh.
Those 5 p.m.
done?
classes, I've been stuck at work, all afternoon. I gotta be late,
It's hard when you're on site,
Yeah, even though I'm...
Boss always
definitely-
barking down your back.
I know. Yeah, when I'm in the office.
Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
I live 10 minutes walking from the gym.
Okay, well, let's leave it there. Before we head out, Matt, where can people find you?
www at the dot. Oh fuck! I knew I was going to do that. www.theholyscythetattoo.com, and at the Holy Scythe Tattoo on Instagram, at Mountains of Flesh on Instagram.
With underscores.
Right? Oh yeah. Mountains _of_flesh.
Underscore.
At Matthew _Tillman.
No more underscores.
Yeah, a lot of underscores. It's a pain in the ass. You got to like press a bunch
I'm
of
not
buttons
an
to get
underscore
to it.
guy. I'm a dot guy. I put dots instead of underscores.
So my whole thing is like I needed to make it clear to read, and like any other punctuation was just annoying to me.
Yeah.
And the underscore is just too much work.
Yeah, it could look like mountain sun flesh, mountain sun flesh. Like who knows unless you put the
I
underscore.
just really don't think things through, you know.
Yeah.
I just kind of do stuff.
On that note, thanks for listening to another episode, everyone. If you enjoy this podcast, like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us at Thanks for the Roll on Instagram and TikTok, for that matter. Give us 5 stars and write us a review wherever you listen, and share this episode with someone you think could benefit from it. See you next time. Thanks for the roll.
Thanks for the roll.
Thanks for the roll.
Cool. Outro music.
Damn, yeah. Ave Maria. We're gonna fade out.